Hello, good morning. How are you today? My name is Praise for Warware. Welcome to PF Things. This is episode 54. This is live from Praise for War International Studios, Lagos, Nigeria. How are you doing today? And how has it been with you this weekend? Thank you for those of you who always join me every time we run this show. I do not take it for granted at all. And I want to appreciate you always for keeping tabs with me every now and then. Now, today, I want to start talking about the audacity to think. Audacity to think. Why do I want to talk about thinking today? Because a whole lot of the times people have stopped thinking, but they're not aware that they're no longer thinking. Now, the quality of your life, it's actually a feedback to the quality of your thoughts. Now, if your life is not where you want it to be, you need to check the situation of your heart, because your mind and the way you think is the most critical part of you. Now, over time, I have realized from everything I've read. Good morning, everyone joining me from Instagram, Facebook, and YouTube, and those of you who watch this subsequently. Now, I've realized, and it's been documented consistently, that majority of the people in the space called our planet do not think, right? That the people on this planet do not think. Now, there are several people who think they are thinking without actually thinking, because their thinking is a borrowed thought from another person, that they are not even aware that what they are saying, what they are thinking, is a borrowed thought. Now, there are very few people who think. Let me give you a typical example. Yesterday, at a forum, they were talking about, rape, and someone went there and he asked, and he commented, and he said, well, the solution to rape is for us to just pray. And when we trust our heart, when we give God our heart and we pray, rape will disappear. Right. So I asked him, that why do you think this is the right thing to do? And he said, that over time, he believes that the right legislation has not been done. And that it's because we have voted people who do not trust God, who do not love God, into power. I said, I agree. What do you think we should do? He said we should pray to God to touch their heart and change their mind. So I asked him a question. I said, do you think prayer is the right thing for us to do, or we should strategize to vote them out and vote in people who can deliver at the level we expect? He said, no, that prayer changes all things. So I asked him a simple question. I said, yes, I agree that prayer changes all things, but can you show me a template where this thing you are recommending has worked? Maybe any nation, known or unknown, whether in the Bible, Quran, or any nation at all in the world, where it was prayer alone that changed the heart of their leadership, and suddenly all of them became good. Now he started quoting scriptures, the heart of the king and the subjects and the gods, and he did not answer the question. So I knew almost immediately that what he's saying is not his thought, right? That he's not thinking, is only regurgitating what someone that he had listened to consistently has said. Unfortunately, there are lots of people that when it comes to delivery on their daily job, right, they even think better, but when it comes to the critical parts of their lives, they embrace a borrowed thought of someone they respect, but they think they are thinking. I'll give you another example. One young lady that I respect so much during the last election in Nigeria believed, because she follows a man who believes that God wanted him to be president, and the man, had contested a number of times, and the man still believes that God wanted him to be president. And the man released a letter few days to election, and the letter stated that election would hold, and that between the two principal contestants, they will agree and hand over power to him because God said so. Now, this lady published the letter and believed it. So I asked her, have you ever seen any nation of the world where this has happened, that someone else, two people contested election and one person won, and the two people that contested, the principal contestant, agreed to hand over power to someone that didn't contest, or someone maybe that came a distant fourth or something like that. She said to me, God has said it, I believe it, that settles it. Now, this is an intellectual, this is a master's degree holder. Follow me, right? But she subjected her thinking, or totally eliminated the capacity of her frontal context to ask the question human beings should ask, and she believed what at best a child should not believe, right? So after the election, after the swearing in, I asked her, Alpha, what is the scores? She said, well, that the man said we should watch what happens. They're still going to hand over to him. Now, I don't know how many years that's going right now. Him. So, majority of the people on this planet do not think. Several people think they are thinking without actually thinking, because their thinking is a borrowed thought from another person. As a matter of fact, a lot of people fall into that category, that when someone talks, you could almost pick who he has been listening to. Now, I have said here consistently that the greatest carriers of truth are the greatest carriers of error. Unfortunately, our culture has not helped, especially as Africans, where the old man is always right, or the leader is always right, or the man we respect is always right. But I love the way Jesus puts it. If the blind man follows the blind, their destiny is a ditch. That if you assume, whether you assume that your leader is seeing and your leader is blind, and you assume that you are seeing and you are blind, as long as both of you are blind, right, your destination is a ditch. Unfortunately, many people follow people they love, they respect, when they are heading into the ditch. I love the way they put it in Nigeria. They say, hey, Gungun, be careful. You are already on your way to express. The masquerade, be very careful. You are already on the expressway, but you can't see it because of your unconscious bias. Very few people think. Now, I love the Proverbs that says, as it thinks in his heart, so easy, that your life cannot be better than the way you think in your mind. That if your thinking is wrong and you assume it is right, your life will feed you back that your thinking is wrong. But you will not have the capacity to see it because you still believe you are right. Even when your result consistently shows you that something is wrong, even when life consistently shows you other people producing the results you need, you will convince yourself that they are using some powers that you don't know. You will convince yourself that your power is superior. You will convince yourself about what doesn't make sense, and you will propagate it. Now, I love to ask questions, right? So, for example, I was having a chat with one of my mentees yesterday, and we just got talking about religion. Religion is not something I love to talk about. I talk spirituality. And I asked him a simple question. I said, no, he mentioned something about we are spiritual Jews, and we talked along that line. And I asked the question, if we are spiritual Jews, how, which means we are from spiritual Israel, how come we don't have free visa to the nation Israel? I mean, if we are spiritual Jews, the real Jews should recognize that we are spiritual Jews. So we should have free visa to the nation Israel, because that's our country. After all, we spend our life talking about Israel, and we are children of the God of Israel. So if we are children of the God of Israel, why can't we call Israel unrestricted? And we laughed about it, right? That we just slapped things because they told us the world is a power, operates on the power of narrative management. Doesn't have to be true, doesn't have to be wrong. Narrative management is what people are driven consistently, which is why the media is so powerful, because the media governs perception, which is why a man that has never entered a church can carry a Bible in front of the church and snap picture. And people who all their lives have preached to people, have talked about, even the devil can quote Bible, have taught several series of messages on the fact that even the devil can carry Bible. They will convince themselves that that man is suddenly God's anointed, even when his life contradicts all the values they have taught. They will suddenly forget because of bias. You can never understand any concept better than your thought process. I'm picking my words carefully this morning. You can never understand any concept better than your thought process, provided that your thought process is actually your thought process and not the thought process of someone you have endorsed or entrusted your mind into. Someone whose thoughts you regurgitate because you assume that the man is all in all. Give you an example. Do you know that countries, the role models are religious leaders? In developing countries. In developed countries, the role models are industrialists, innovators, and inventors, right? Or even public servants. Now, so I did a research, many years ago. I just went to like 3 different countries to go and test some of the most popular people that we respect and we love in Africa. And I picked people randomly and I mentioned their names and nobody knew them. I was shocked that nobody knew them. Then it dawned on me that if you think people know you, is because people are tuned into you, that you can get to certain nations and nobody will know you, right? But I mentioned other people that people say belong to the devil and they knew them, right? Then I realized that until what you're producing is usable by the all humankind, all man, people may not really know you. Now, you cannot understand any concept better than your thought process, which is why what a Japanese and a Nigerian sees when they look at the same situation is a function of their mindset, and that's what determines their earning and global rating. One of my mentors brought in a white American to Nigeria, an American, I don't like talking about white or black, a human being to Nigeria. And we asked him, have you ever eaten in your dream before? And the guy said, no. And we said, how would you feel if you ate in your dream? The guy said, wow, it would be a fantastic experience. If I ate in my dream, whoa, do people eat in their dream? I would love to eat in my dream. That would be fantastic. I've never experienced it before. We looked at ourselves and we began to laugh. You know, if you eat in your dream, you know your interpretation. Now, which is why nobody is asking the question. One of my mentors said that, and I think I align with him, that for anybody to call you from Nigeria in America and for you to answer and die, the two of you must believe the same thing. That which is why nobody has been able to call some presidents that we ate in their dream and for them to die, right? Unconscious bias or implicit bias, according to Wikipedia, is often defined as prejudice or unsupported judgment. Note the word unsupported judgment in favor of or against one person, thing, or as another in a way that is considered unfair. That unconscious bias is a prejudiced or unsupported judgment, that people have unconscious bias towards a certain people. So most likely, if you're a Christian, you are going to have unconscious bias towards a Muslim because you have been told that you are the only one going to heaven. So you will forget absolutely that that if you were born in Iraq, you most likely have been a Muslim, right? And God was aware that you were going to be born in Iraq. He was aware that there is almost the possibility that you may not even know Jesus, you may not hear about him, right? Now we believe that, everyone who doesn't follow what we follow is going to hellfire. So one day we were having a discussion and I asked that what happens to our great grandfather who were in Nigeria, who did not hear about Jesus and who died before Christianity came? And the person said, well, God knows how he will handle them because since they didn't hear. So I asked him, now because this is the thinking, I asked him if because now your parents, forefathers are involved, you believe that God will have a way of handling them simply because Christianity had not come before they died into Nigeria. Why do you think God will not have a way of handling someone else who lives in a different country with a religious belief, right? Whose books also say that he's going to heaven, right? That what we try to do is we play the role of God. We attribute things to ourselves and we believe that our way is the only way, not knowing that if you were born in Japan or born in China, your beliefs may have been totally different by what you believe right now. That people ask, why is it easy for people to believe that there is no God? That if you were born in a nation that works, where humankind has produced results at a higher level, at a certain level, you may fall into that category of thinking to say that everything we want to do, human being has produced, right? There is God. I believe there is God, right? But I love to question things. So I'm teaching you how to think today. Number one, I think, and this is my suggestion, you don't have to take it, which is why don't take anything I say on my morning show as law. Go back, troubleshoot, fact find. I love the Berean Christian. The Berean Christians, everything Paul said, they went to check it, to check the validity of what he said. Everything has to be data backed. That when you are subjective, which is where religious space has become very, not, I even think is Pentecostalism, where we do not give room for thinking. Because I did a project with the Catholic Church, and the Catholics told me that when something happens, the first thing they do is to check history if it has happened before. If it has happened before, what problem, right? If it has not happened before, right? What research can they do to solve the problem? Now, when they have exhausted what the human mind can do and they still don't have result, then they entreat God to provide solutions. What I think Pentecostalism is, which has been wrongly taught in many places, church, is that, you know what? Don't even think. I hear consistently, your brain is too small. Your brain is too small. And I'm wondering, your brain is too small, yet the mic you are saying, using to say your brain is too small, was made by the human mind. The canopy we use was made by the human mind. The building was made by the human mind. Your jacket was made by the was made by human mind. Your shoe was made by human mind. But the same you is saying your mind is too small, even when everything you are producing is being produced 90% by the mind. When everything on the prayer list of your people is produced by the mind, but you are saying their mind is too small, they should not use their mind. No wonder people will believe that there are certain, you need to roll on the floor for God to accept your prayer, even though you say God is your father, right? Which is why many of the instructions we are giving, there are people you will give that instruction to, and it will not make sense to them because their brain will rebel against it because they operate at a higher level. Now, follow this. So, one, here is my recommendation: to think effectively. Approach every issue from the standpoint of curiosity, not acceptance, including what I am sharing with you. I could be wrong. Approach every issue from the standpoint of curiosity, not acceptance. I have done crazy things in my life, right? And I'm grateful to God that I was able to do them, because there are things that people will do and they will think that God is going to kill them. Number two, troubleshoot every thought from the standpoint of origin. How did I come about this? Very key, because many of the things you believe, you don't own them. Your parents slapped your brain with so many things that they believe, that your culture believes, that your tradition. So, for example, when you were born, if you were a Yoruba boy, you were taught that the way to greet an adult is to prostrate. You were taught that you do not look an adult in the face. And there's an entire generation that was totally destroyed, abused, molested by adults, because we assume that an adult is sensible. But situation and event has shown that there are so many adults who may not molesting young people, who rape young people, right? But because you have been told don't look at an adult is always right, an entire generation was destroyed. Imagine the thought process that was in place when our women were not better than kitchen and bedroom material. Imagine how many conglomerates, human beings came up with that thought. Imagine how many conglomerates we lost simply because we didn't recognize the power that God has placed in our women. Think about it for a minute, right? Think about how our world arrived at black, white. This race is superior, that race is inferior. Look at the damage it has done to our world. And you have professors who believe this, professors who are biased because of people's culture. Color. You have presidents who are biased because of people's color. That's unconscious bias. Now, yet they say we are driving, we are ruling the world, we are developed. How developed can you be when you lack the capacity to recognize that someone is made in God's image, looks exactly like you? Now, the amazing thing about your brain is, and your mind is, you can be right this minute and be wrong the next minute on two different issues. Check many of the things you are believing. So I'll give you an example. For many years, I was told that ambition is selfish. Vision is God-given. That was taught on many platforms, and I believed it. I taught it too, until one day when I realized that many of the thoughts I had were not my thoughts. They were the thoughts of the people who taught me when I started getting into the religious space, and I wanted to find out myself. In fact, there was a particular year, for 2 years, I was checking everything I believed, and trust me, I was wrong on so many counts. So I went. It was Dr. Miles Monroe who taught me the power of etymology. He said to me, Ola, that's what he calls me, that if you want to know the origin of any thought, go to the etymology, because that's the first time that word was used. So I went to the etymology of ambition, and I was shocked. Ambition, that means to convince people and solicit for votes. In fact, is a word that is a political word. Now, for the first time, I realized that vision and ambition are not, that they actually work together. That you need ambition to drive a vision, right? That even if your vision is God's given, you will need to have an ambition to convince people to follow you in the course of your vision and actualize it. But can you imagine how many pulpits we still teach this morning that ambition is selfish, self-centered, right? And that vision is God's given. So question, the quest for you to feed your family, is it God's given, or is it a selfish quest? That's an ambition. You have an ambition to fly a jet, to drive the best cars. Is that a selfish? That is what human beings desire, right? And even the right word there is not ambition, because ambition is solicitation of votes to convince a target audience. You can't do any advertisement without ambition. You cannot drive any vision without ambition, because you will need to convince people. But we have been told. So when people have ambition, they are told that is selfish. Drop your ambition. No wonder Nigeria looks like the poverty capital of the world, because consistently people are looking for God's vision, that they are dropping what they consider to be their ambition, even though the ambition can move their lives forward. So you need to troubleshoot every thought from the standpoint of origin. How did I come about this? Pause your life today. Sit down alone by yourself. Begin to check what you believe. Ask yourself, where did I get this belief from? Who was the person that told me this belief, right? What is the person's global rating? What result has the person produced? Can I go and check the etymology of this word? Let me shock you. If you check etymology, you almost be embarrassed. Etymology of words like man, woman, male, God, heaven, etymology of wife, husband, you will almost be embarrassed at what has been taught as culture, as religion, at what we have believed that is not correct. Number 3, subject every thought to a test of delivery. Whatever you have believed, you need to ask, is it producing the result you expect? And why is it not producing that result? Don't convince yourself that after all, when I get to heaven, everything is going to be all right. What if you don't get to that heaven? Because in heaven, we were told that God will say, well done. Work done is a function of well done. What if you have not done the work? So ask yourself, whatever you have believed, is it producing the result you expect? So you have confessed, I am a billionaire. I am a billionaire. You are not yet a millionaire. And you are 59. You are 62. You are 42, right? 43. You need to ask yourself, if there are people who are billionaires at 22, 23, you need to find out, why is my thought not producing, or my conviction not producing the result I desire? That you can't produce that result is feedback that something may be wrong with your thinking, right? So subject every thought to a test of delivery. Is the moment your thought is not producing the result you desire, please begin to question your thought. Now, next one, 4, give a margin of error. Because what you believe is not often in its final state of truth, right? So when people say, this is my truth, this is my truth, and your truth has not produced the result. Nothing is in its final state. If everything were to be in its, which is why you see cars create new model, you see even God create new version of expression. You see this phone is iPhone 7, right? And you say that they will tell you this powerful is da 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 da. You buy it. Next year, there's going to be iPhone 8. Because what will necessitate the imperfection that will necessitate the creation of iPhone 8 is already in iPhone 7. The imperfection that will create iPhone 10 is already in iPhone 9. The imperfection that will create iPhone 11 is already in. So that's the way the world works. And meanwhile, people don't pause to say, I bought this one for 500,000 last year. I thought that it will show me everything, but they said there's a new one. So they use the power of advertisement to convince you, and you trash that one, and the rat race continues again. You need to always give a margin of error. No matter who is speaking to me, I always in my mind feel, what if what he's saying is not totally correct? What if what he's saying is not totally, which is why you cannot consistently follow what has not produced result. Next one, which is number 6, uninstall whatever thought doesn't empower you and embrace what aligns with what you desire. Many years ago, my thought was demon driven. There's a demon that wants to kill me, a demon when I'm eating, a demon when I'm going out. So I told my wife one year, I said, sweetheart, we will not pray against demon this year at all. I don't want you to mention demon in our prayer. Demon want to kill you. The fear of demon can never take you to the realm of innovation. You will spend your life chasing a demon that you don't know. Because I asked my wife, have we been to meeting of demons before? Have you seen any demons since you have been born? We just believe what we were told. Meanwhile, there is a generation who have compressed their demon into cartoon characters. So I told her, we are not going to speak against demons. Let us see if we survive. For 1 year, we did not pray about demons. We survived. Right? So I began to realize that giving attention to demons is a waste of my life. Do demons exist? Yes, they exist. Do they meet right now as we are talking? They are meeting. But we don't know where the meeting is going. I have never attended it. Why should I bother myself about the fact that the lion is killing another animal in the jungle right now when I've never been to the jungle? The only lion I've seen is in the zoo or in the movie. Why should I be afraid of what the lion is doing when I don't live in the jungle? So the same way, why should you be afraid of witches and wizards when you don't attend their meeting? You don't know where they are. Think about this, right? So you need to uninstall whatever thought doesn't empower you. Whatever prophecy, it was Sean Stevenson who said, never believe a prophecy that does not empower you. Never believe a prophecy that does not empower you, no matter who is saying it. I was going to leave a place of work, the first place I ever worked, and when it was time to leave, they called me into a room and they told me, Praise, if you leave, nobody will remember, nobody will hear of you again. And they told me 7 or 8 people have left like that and nobody heard of again. And I looked at them and I asked them, are you speaking as God or are you speaking as man? Because I left my father to come and be with you. So why are you telling me that nobody will hear about me again? Is this place a place of God, or what exactly is happening here? I said, me, you will hear about me. Guess what? Based on the authority figures at that level, I could have gone on and disappeared because I will internalize what they have said. But is unto you according to your belief, which is why your belief is powerful. I did not believe what they said, and I indeed left, and they can hear about me. So uninstall whatever thought doesn't empower you. Don't be emotional about any thought. Whatever thought is not producing any result, trash it. Don't be emotional about it. Don't embrace it. Don't be no thought is your friend. The only thought that is your friend is the thought that can produce your bottom line or what you desire for your life. That's the only thought that is your friend. That's the only thought you must be loyal to. Any other thought that is not producing anything, don't listen to anything, right? Or doesn't empower you. Next one, seek to find out the thought producing what works and why it's working. That something you desire is working for someone else is proof that there is a thought process that can produce that result. I told someone, if we go into the theater today, me and Bill Gates, and there's anything called mental transplant, and they transplant my brain into Bill Gates' brain, and they transfer Bill Gates' brain into my brain. You know what will happen? Bill Gates will step into Microsoft, even though he has retired, and he will not know what to do. Bill Gates will step into Microsoft like this, and he will begin to talk like me, right? And I will step into Microsoft, and I will function exactly every innovation I will have, right? I will step into Bill and Melinda Gates Foundation, and I will produce. In fact, I will resume almost immediately. Why? Because what drives Bill Gates is his mind. They ask him, what is your greatest fear? He said, my greatest fear is that I don't want my mind to stop thinking. That if my mind stops thinking, I think I will lose my very essence, right? So you need guys, and check what is working. If you desire something in your life, you have prayed about it, you have done the 7 steps to success, 9 steps to success, it has not produced the result. Follow the power of example. Nothing trumps the power of example. If you see anyone producing that result, humble yourself, go and meet them and find out. Right? If they now introduce something to you and say, you need to join call to, then you can run for your life. But what if they tell you, this is my schedule? I love to know people's routine, right? The secret of we created an entire course called Family System Engineering Certification by observing marriages that have gone through 40 years and what made them work. And we concluded that if people install this thought process, install this pattern, they can produce this result. And right now is working. Right? That success is replicable. Don't let anybody fool you. Any movement you belong to and you ask them, why is this working? They say, it's by the special grace of God. Why is it working? It's by the special grace of God. They are out to fool you, because most God, there's always a way. Any man that knows the way will produce the act. There is a way out of every situation, right? So you need to consciously observe whosoever. If the person that is producing the result is the person you call unbeliever. I don't like to use the word unbeliever because that word is an English word that means an unbeliever is someone who doesn't believe what you believe, right? So if the person doesn't belong to your religious sect, because God doesn't know about religion, man created religion, right? God knows about spirituality, however, you need to go and learn. Sir, how are you doing this? Now, the secret is in their thought. If you can understand their thought, you can understand their daily routine, you will most likely produce their result, right? So seek to find out the thought producing what works and why it's working. If you follow this, you will change your life in exactly 3 months. Totally, you will change your life and your result will totally change. Next one, embrace a result producing thought that passes the test of ecology. Ecology means, right, it passes the test of sound thinking, sound understanding, right? You don't want to now say, okay, what is working is go and kill a human being. No, right? That goes against ecology, right? So embrace a result producing thought that passes the test of ecology. There is always what is working. Every time you fly in the sky, if they hand over the plane to you, you may not be able to fly it, but the pilots know what to do. The drivers know what to do to navigate some terrain. The same way, there is what works. If you are a human being, you have earned the right to observe what works, to follow what works, to reproduce what works, and you have earned the right not to be criticized by what you have chosen to follow and the path you have chosen to follow. Association. So don't let anybody bully you into what has not worked, what has not even worked for them, what is not working for you, but you are supposed to be loyal to what has not worked. Now, fearlessly embrace what works, but consistently check if there are areas of improvement for reinvention, which is why I'm going to recommend the documentary, the cartoon, Who Moved My Cheese, is on YouTube. You need to go and watch it, Who Moved My Cheese, because the cheese can move. Missions don't change, methodology changes. Missions don't change, the methodology can change, which is why the moment a change happens, which is called paradigm shift, everything resets, is set to 0, right? So when people say things like the church is closed, the church is not closed, church building is closed, gathering of people is closed. The church can never be closed because church is the called out ones, which is ecclesia. Church is on the move, right? People are still praying in their houses. People are still doing whatever they call not closed. Don't let anybody tell you that church is closed. Church is not closed, right? So embrace what works, but consistently check it. Troubleshoot what is working, because that is working today doesn't mean it might work tomorrow. A technology can come that can crash it, which is why everyone who says they will not learn how to use computer, they expired, even though they were still living on this planet. The same way, there are new technologies going on right now. All the cameramen who carry camera and they say we need to edit and frustrated our lives. Some of them are struggling to survive right now. Why? Because there's technology. I'm in my studio. I'm alone, no production manager. I am the production manager. I'm using StreamYard, which is an app, and you are listening to me, right? So it means that life can change. We may not need anybody to carry camera, but we will still need to broadcast, right? The mission is to broadcast. The methodology of broadcasting will change. So you need to always be at the cutting edge of change. Be the one that drives change. Don't let change change you. Don't let change catch up with you in a way that you are not ready for it. Now, so fearlessly embrace what works, but consistently check it if there are areas of improvement for reinvention. Lastly, question everything, right? And repeat the process. Question everything. Question everything. I say to you, I mean, today's session is audacity to think. Question everything. No matter who is saying it, when people say you cannot question God, it's not true. Unquestionable you are the Lord is not true. Come, let us reason together. It's the use of the brain that come, let us fact find, let us troubleshoot, let us check. That is our God. If God is a father, we can question our father, right? If God cannot be questioned, then God that cannot be questioned is Amadioha, Shango, or Ogun. If people never question the use of camel, they will not invent cars. If cars was not questioned, ships will not be invented. If ships were not questioned, people will not invent airplane. If typewriter was not questioned, desktop will not be invented. If desktop was not questioned, laptop will not be invented. If laptop was not questioned, your iPad and your tab will not be invented. If those ones were not questioned, smartphones will not be invented. So guys, you need to understand that you are a human being. You have the right to question everything. And if anybody feels upset that you are questioning things, maybe that's not the leader for you. That may not be the right place for you, because God has given us brain so that we can think. God has given us a capacity. It's called God-given brain. Anyone who tries to shut it down and say you should not think what human beings can think is out to mess you up, right? You just become Dundee United. And that's not where you want to be. That you are still jogging, trying to find God through the lens of someone who has not even found God, who is himself is experimenting, right? You need to set yourself apart today and ask yourself, many of the things I believe, are they my beliefs, or they were the beliefs imposed? I've entered the prison of my mind, because the greatest prison is a prison of your mind, where you now no longer have the capacity to independently think about things because of your loyalty to things, to people, and to events. You don't now, your truth is now subjective. Guys, I want you to know that once you can think, you have a future. The future of our world is thinking, which is why the people can think are the ones who innovate. They are the ones who rule the world. Everybody told Elon Musk, you cannot go into space. Nobody was willing to fund him. He trusted its entire wealth into it. And you know what happened 2 weeks ago? Because Elon Musk launched human being into space. It's been said that those who said it can be done, they should watch us do it. But it's going to ride on the power of your thinking. Be fearless, be brilliant, be you, become the best version of you. I wish you all the best, and I challenge you. I dare you to think. I dare you to change your life. As a think in his mind, so he is. It shall be unto you according to your belief. Think of the highest possibility version possible, and live your life based on it. Walk in that direction. Question everything. Check your thoughts. Uninstall what doesn't work. Install what works, embrace it, replicate it, observe what is working around you, go around those that are working, ask them for the thought process producing it, learn it, reproduce it, and it will work for you. I pray that God will help you to do what is right for yourself, for your family, for your generation, and for your nation. Thank you so much for joining me. I'll be back maybe before 8 o'clock, because I'm going to do the session for the children a little bit faster today, because I have to be on Arise TV at sometimes around 8:15 thereabout to answer some questions on rape. And evening by 7 p.m. we are back with Visayo doing numero uno. Thank you very much for joining me. I love you. I appreciate you. You are a savior. I'm a savior. Together we shall solve the problem of the world. But it's going to ride on the power of your thinking. So go ahead, go think. I dare you to think. I will see you tomorrow at the same time, God's willing. Till then, keep loving, keep living. My name is Praise for where I